Hello and welcome to the Armor's Fix. My name is Kyle. Today I've got something to show you that's pretty interesting, something that's a little far out. I wasn't expecting it all, and here it is. Kind of blew my mind as just something odd and weird. And without further ado, here it is, the all-new Ruger 5.7, as in 5.7 by 28 millimeter FN 5.7 PS90, same cartridge those shoot. Super random, and I love it. Stay tuned, it's coming up right after this. First things first, if you're not that familiar with the caliber, you'll typically see these funny looking blue boxes from FN. I believe this is made by Fiocchi for FN. You also see little red boxes, American Eagle. Those are the common ones. Here we are coming full circle with what should be a much cheaper option than the FN 5.7. Right here is the original FN 5.7 and the new Ruger 5.7. The Ruger has a 1911 style ambidextrous safety, so you'll have it on both sides. I don't mind that. I'm seeing some people complain because it does have a safety. However, I enjoy a 1911 safety. It's part of the draws. The gun comes up, safety's off. As you go back down, safety's back on. So pretty simple motion. If you train with a 1911, you're already used to it. Any other platforms that are similar, again, it's nice. You get used to it. I don't mind it at all. The FN, on the other hand, this safety is atrocious. I think it's super weird. I don't think anyone has ever really mentioned liking it. In fact, anybody I know who's carried this has always carried safety off. But again, I don't like a switch that I'm not used to selecting in order to be able to fire my firearm. If you look at the grips, the actual grip size in comparison, the Ruger is quite a bit slimmer. It seems a little odd shaped in photos. It feels at first like it's going to be odd shaped, but once you wrap your hand around it, it's actually quite comfortable, and I can get a lot more of my hand around this grip as opposed to the FN. So it's a little chunky. The mag holds 20 flush fit from FN. The Ruger mag, same thing. We're at 20 rounds. Not like crazy different, but it's definitely smaller. So just right off the bat, some of the things that I love about this is the fact that they are actually making some of these parts a lot smaller. That's pretty cool. The other thing I love is this weird, like, the way they did the design around these kind of grip and rip cutaways in the frame, as well as doing a little bit of a finger tab on the mag. So it's really easy to get in there if you've got like a bad double feed or something like that. Not a major concern. Some guys nerd out over it, but I like the fact that it's aesthetically pleasing. They actually made it look kind of cool. And for those of you who are into grip texture and stippling and everything, I just think it's cool lines that are already on the gun to play with if you're one of those guys burning up plastic. We've got forward cocking serrations, a little lightning on the slide here where it's cut up top. Trigger is kind of like a Glock style, but the flat trigger within a trigger is really quite wide. It's about 1/4 of an inch wide, but it leaves for a good smooth platform to come into. We have a nice amount of take up. You have that trigger within a trigger that steps back, you stage a little further to the wall, and then a nice crisp break. Add a little bit of weight into it, and then boom, there's just a nice clean break. Our reset, a little on the long side. I wouldn't call it long by overall gun standards, but long compared to the few that I've been shooting lately. But overall, great trigger. I don't really have a complaint about that. Now moving on to the trigger in the FN. Not too bad. Decent amount of take up. It's less than that one. Trigger had one little rickety spot in it, but it's really not bad at all. I don't know. I'm going to say I actually like the Ruger trigger better. So one thing you'll notice on this Ruger is we do have a plate for mounting optics. I am told, again, with this being a prototype, this isn't going to be part of the initial offering, so we're probably going to see this later, but it doesn't look like it's going to have that from the factory. But seeing this on a prototype, it's really cool knowing that Ruger is actually at least testing the idea, considering it, and maybe a few months later, maybe an NRA show, maybe a little after that, we'll see an announcement on models with a optic cut and mounting plates. The extractor is in a super bizarre, weird, just top position here. Looks pretty funky. It's way up at an angle here. The sights we do get on here, we've got a blacked out serrated rear sight. I assume the serrations will go all the way up on the final production model. They stop for some reason right where the window opens up on here. I hope those continue on up for kind of an anti-glare aspect. The front sight looks like just a standard fiber optic green. Cool. Maybe they'll send you with a little red vial as well, because if I'm running fiber optic, I'd rather have red. Overall, guys, I think it's going to be a really interesting firearm, and I assume the price point's going to be 60% of what FN sells theirs at, maybe straight up 50%, cutting it right in half. But I believe it should be kind of in that ballpark where it's going to be a much cheaper option. This is really good news to those of you who like the idea of having a 5.7 as a little plinker, I don't know, a squirrel gun. I don't know what you plan on doing with it. Those who respect the caliber and what its capabilities are, pretty interesting being able to step into that with a much cheaper option that, in my opinion, has a better trigger, better safety, better just overall ergonomics. I love the grip better. Like, I think they've had plenty of time to work on this. Again, it's odd how late this came to market, and it was weird to me. I kind of wanted to hate it, but the more and more I looked at it, the more and more I liked it. And I think this is pretty cool, and I think throughout all that time, they've been able to work through the kinks and knock this thing out of the park. Because again, basically they're doing everything the FN did, but in my opinion, they're doing it better. So as long as this thing runs well, I think it's going to do really well. Now, what's interesting about the release of this is I'm hoping if they're doing this, we're going to see a rifle to follow, like the Ruger PC in 5.7. Ruger, that may be neat, but really what I want to see, and what I think a lot of people would love to see and lose their minds over, is basically an MP7 that HK did and will never really offer to the public because, well, Germany, and because, well, HK. It's just how it is, unfortunately. If they could give us an MP7 clone in 5.7 by 28, I think that would be amazing. Heck, I'd take one in like 17 HMR or something like that, even a 22. MP7 is by far one of my favorite designs. I think it's super interesting, super cool how compact it is. Love the capacity that it holds. It'd just be an all-around awesome firearm. And seeing this handgun come out, I can only assume that Ruger has something up their sleeve. I hope it's more than PC. While the PC would be cool, if you gave us an MP7, again, I'd be jumping for joy and be one of your first customers, hands down. Again, totally freaked me out, super weird, super odd, but the more and more I mess with this thing, the more and more I love it. Just to go into one last point I didn't touch on, the bore axis is definitely way lower on the new Ruger 5.7. Again, pretty much everything that this gun did, Ruger came back and did better. So, guys, this is going to be awesome. Definitely go check one out once they're available. I'm not sure when they're going to be hitting market. Hopefully soon. I assume it'll be announced and shipping sometime around SHOT Show or a few months after. Hopefully we don't have to wait too much longer. This is going to be a lot of fun. Again, once I have a model that I can actually fire, I'll be doing another video on it where we do a full range test. This is not a functional unit. It's missing a firing pin. I'm told that the barrel hasn't been properly heat treated and some other things. However, the slide has definitely seen live rounds through it. You can see the old brass spots and everything right there in front of the firing pin channel. And yeah, so this gun has, at least components of it, have had live rounds through it. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit the little bell icon down here to the bottom right. That way you get all notifications on future videos we post. Also, check us out on social. We're on Instagram and Facebook. There's also thearmorisfixed.com, where we just launched a blog that's a written blog with videos as well, so you see pretty much everything there. You'll see actually a write-up I did on this firearm. I have some other guest writers that are already starting to produce content and everything for you to read on there. So check it out. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.